G'day everyone, Pat here, and we've got Dean. Dean, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hey guys, I'm Dean from Sun Terra Solar. Been in the solar game for about 4 years now. So doing a lot of installs of products like the Growatt and yeah.
So, no, thank you for that. So I thought it'd be worthwhile to actually bring the guys from Sunterra, Dean, who's been my liaison at the company, to talk about what he sees in the industry. I've got a couple of questions which we'll go through, but it'd be best to come from somebody who's actually doing it day to day, not somebody who's just on YouTube making videos about it. So thanks for making the time. I really appreciate it. I'll start with a couple of easy ones. Like, you guys, from my understanding, install really the Growatt system, both the inverters and the batteries. Can you take me through a little bit about the company and what you know about them and maybe some background? That'd be good.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, Growatt, we've been selling them for a very long time. So we mainly specialise with the Growatt systems. So probably about 90% of our installs are the Growatt, and that's mainly just because of their reliability and affordability. Of course, when you're buying solar, you want it to, one, do the job, and two, you want it to be affordable and you want to be able to get a good payback, because that's the main reason we're all doing it. We're trying to get a good payback on our bills and save a bit of money. So
yeah, and what have you seen sort of in the industry compared to other systems? Like, where does Growatt sort of sit in that, like from 1 to 10 in the space, like premium to sort of low end?
Yeah, so we say it's about like a affordable premium. So it's around that mid tier. You'll see other similar brands like Sungrow or Goodwe who are around that same kind of level. It's not your super premium, top tier stuff, which is very pricey, and sometimes it won't give you the best payback. But yeah, it's around that mid tier. So it's around, I'd say it's about a 7.
Brilliant. Okay. And so obviously with batteries, like what do you guys see as like the benefits, the main thing that, putting in a battery, having solar? Some people would already have solar. So if you don't, then, that's a big difference going from no solar to solar and battery. But what's the main driver for when you speak to people?
Main driver is because a lot of people, they work, say, 9 to 5s, or they're out of the house during the day, and if you're solar, your panels are only really going to produce while the sun's up. So you want to be able to store some of that excess power that you're not using during the day, store it in the battery, and then when you come home, you start cooking dinner, chuck the TV on, or the lights, start using a lot of appliances, then you want to be able to use that solar power, which for a lot of people that have installed solar in the past few years, when batteries weren't as affordable, when they didn't have the rebates, they'll be able to add one on. Or if you don't have solar at all, of course, we can do a full package and get it all set up. So.
And when you talk about sort of the savings on the power, because you're not home, you're not really utilizing it. When you do, you're utilizing it. And as you mentioned, Growatt is that mid-tier sort of premium level. What do you see as the payback period for a system like this? Knowing that people will get different sizes and things like that, but obviously that scales. So what do you usually see?
I mean, of course we would tailor it to your needs, so to your power bill. So if your power bill is $300, $400, $600, $1,000, whatever it is, we would design that system to fit that level. Of course, that's one thing you want to get right, because if you go too big, then it's going to push that payback right out, because you're really not going to get the full benefit of the savings that system could bring you, because your power bill is not as big. So you want to get that right first, but once you do, the payback, it's around 6 years. We aim for 3 to 5 in your best case scenario, but sometimes it can be up to 6 years.
So one of the questions we always get on the videos, and I try to address it, but it'd be good to hear it from you. How should a person go about sizing the amount of kilowatt hours on their battery? And then a follow-up question to keep in mind, sizing up the inverter to match. How would you work it out with the customer?
Yeah, so basically you want to see like your average daily import. That's the best thing to go off, which for us in WA, on your Synergy bill, that'll be in the bottom right hand corner of the front page. You'll be able to see it there. And then you can just roughly gauge, because of course it changes day to day. Like you may be entertaining one night, or you may not be home one night, kind of thing, so it does range a bit. But you want to have a look at that, and then we can gauge the inverter size based on that. So if you're importing, say, 25 kilowatts per day, it's going to be roughly a 5 kilowatt inverter. But if you're up around, say, 40, 50 kilowatts per day, you're going to need something bigger. You may go for like a 10 kilowatt inverter, something like that. And then in terms of your battery, normally we, on the high end, will go about, say, 40% of that. So if you're, let's say, roughly 30-40% is what like the typical household would use at night time. So take that average daily usage, times it by roughly 30%, 40%, and that's roughly what size battery you would go for.
And maybe people are watching this for the first time. What would be like? How would it function? Like, how would that function between the inverter, the battery? What actually happens during the day when you?
Yep, so the way the system will work is the system will always prioritize using the power generated from the panels first. So that'll go towards the home. Once the home's demand is met, it'll then charge the battery second. And then once so battery's fully charged, home demand is met, then it'll export to the grid, which, depending on what size system you get, you may or may not receive a feed-in tariff, which is the credits that get sent back to the grid, or the credits you earn from sending kilowatts back to the grid.
So in this case, we've got a 10 kilowatt system here, and I do not get my 2 cents every time I export. And it seems quite low anyway. The kilowatts that you can actually export is about, 1.5 kilowatts anyway, so it doesn't seem to be much.
Yeah, 1.5 maximum, yeah.
Probably a weird question, but what happens to the energy that you don't export and the panels are generating, let's say, full 15, 13 kilowatts? What happens to the energy?
It just wouldn't get sent through to the system. It's not something that's, the way some people think of it is there's a lot of energy that's just built up, and if it's not going anywhere, then it's just going to kind of explode, or something like that's going to happen. But it's not quite the case. It's just the panels, it'll just send through what can be sent through based on what the panels, or based on the light that hits the panels and goes through. So I'd probably have to get a better explanation there for you, but
actually that's a good segue into explosions. So what do you see in the industry about, let's say there's a lot of talk about batteries setting on fire. We recently saw on the news, I'm sure lots of people saw it on Facebook, where battery fires at home, lithium batteries, but it turns out it's like old batteries in a shed that has come from like a toy car, or maybe even a drill and power drill. So there's a lot of clickbait titles that people generate online. So tell me a little bit about what you're actually hearing with real home batteries.
I do get that question a bit, like, is this battery potentially gonna be a hazard or potentially explode if there's even if there's a 1% chance, no one's going to take that. So the way they're installed, there's very strict regulations behind it, which is why you want a certified battery installer to install it, because they have to do everything perfectly, and based on these regulations, to give it a absolute 0% chance of any fires or that kind of thing happening. The stories you hear about batteries exploding would be because the installer has either done it not to regulation, or they're just a cowboy installer that thought they knew what they were doing, and turns out they didn't, wasn't connected properly. The batteries also do have layers of arc flash protection. So an arc flashes would be that spark that causes that fire, if there was one. So there's multiple layers of that would prevent that, even in that kind of case. So it's extreme, 0% chance that it wouldn't happen if you do get it installed properly, and a good quality battery as well.
So my takeaway is that safety is probably very much more so on the installer than just the battery system, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you guys have all the certifications required, obviously?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. And what's the process to get this stuff? Like, a lot of times when the solar rebate came in, lots of little mum and dad sort of shops, or one guy pop up and they install these solar panels, and then they just disappear after a year. Yep. What did it take Sunterra to get these certifications?
So the Clean Energy Regulator, or the CEC, Clean Energy Council, is the company that regulates all of the solar industry, so it's a matter of getting those certifications through them, and that's each installer needs to go about doing that. So it's something you have to have. You can't install without it. But it's always good to ask your retailer installer to make sure they do, because there is a lot of, especially with the rebates that have come in, we've particularly noticed there's a lot of companies that have just popped up to make a quick buck. They'll be around for potentially a year, 18 months, 2 years max. They'll make a bunch of money and then they'll shut the company down, and that'll be it. And then all of a sudden you won't be able to contact them for warranty issues or maintenance, anything like that. So best to check.
That's good to know, because these batteries are coming with roughly 10 years of warranty. And I do have a question about the warranty, but you mentioned maintenance. What sort of maintenance is on a system like this? Like, there's not really moving parts. So what somebody like myself should do, especially, we've got a roof, so there's no rain on it, so maybe that's a little bit better, but what should we do?
Yeah, so I mean, solar's good. There's not really much maintenance you have to do at all, as you said. Really, for most people, or with the Growatt systems especially, a lot of other systems are very simpler, but what we can see here is the green light on the inverter, if you can see that on there. That's all you really need to do. You look at that, check to see if it's running properly. Systems like the Growatt have the mobile app, so the Shine phone app, so you can check on there, look at the production. Your salesman will be able to give you a good idea of what your system would be able to produce, and make sure you know how much it should be doing, and also you'll be able to check to make sure your batteries are charging and things like that. So even like once a month you can just have a quick look at the app, jump out here, have a look at the inverter, make sure the green light's on and it's running okay, and that's it really. So
okay, that's good to know. Obviously with no moving parts it is a little bit easier. So then what about those warranties? We've got examples where companies put throughput limits of how many times you can cycle it. You've obviously got time, but there's also different parts to it. You've got workmanship warranty. How does that work with you guys and the systems that you install?
Yeah, so with us, any warranty claims, whether it be product warranty, of course installation warranty, you would come straight through us and we'd be able to liaise with, say, Growatt or Jinko in terms of the panels. So you would just call us up and we contact them on your behalf and organise any replacements or firmware upgrades, whatever needs to be done to fix the system.
And you mentioned firmware upgrades. Is that something that's automated in most systems? I know they have a connection back to sort of home base to the Growatt servers, and even the warranties require sometimes a internet connection to be constantly on to have that warranty. What's that like? Is that something the user needs to check on? Do they, are they going to get punished if one day the NBN goes down and all of a sudden, what's that like?
No, so there's nothing I would need to do there. If it was, if it required some kind of firmware upgrade, then they'd be notified about it, or they would notice an issue with the system, because that's normally what would kind of trigger that, and people would realise. And in terms of the Wi-Fi with people in WA, which is another thing with in order to be eligible for your rebate, you've got to have a Wi-Fi connection at home, which is needs to be running 24/7, and that's just part of the grid management system of Western Power to make sure the grid stays safe. So if there is systems that if there's a grid emergency or something like that, they can't have everyone's solar system exporting a bunch of power back to the grid. They need to be able to just switch them off for a moment. That's why they need to have that Wi-Fi, so they can connect to it and do that in those cases.
And that's not necessarily just to do with batteries, right? Most inverters require that sort of connection back to whoever is the network provider.
Yeah, because it connects through the inverter. So whether you have a battery or not, it'll connect through the inverter, and if it needs to, then they'll do that. Battery systems would be less likely to be switched off because they're not exporting much, especially like Pat's system, exporting 1.5, and you've got a large battery as well. So it's not like you're going to be exporting a large too much to the grid that they won't be able to handle it and they need to switch it off, kind of thing. So Well,
to that point then, a lot of, I guess, online chatter has been pretty negative about the VP, the virtual power plant, from our state, because other states don't require to be a part of it if you want to receive some of the rebates. So what have you heard? And then, could you run me through how it works from your guys' point of view?
Yes, I mean, one of the common things that I've heard is some people think that the lifespan of the battery is going to be reduced by having
I had the same question.
On the VPP. Yeah. So really, it's going to be almost exactly the same. Well, basically exactly the same as if you were to use the battery yourself. Because if you were to drain the battery yourself at night time, you drain it down to roughly, it'd be about 10-11% with the batteries. With the VPP, they do it, well, the plan with Synergy in WA is that it will be up to 30 times per year. They will pay you a high feed-in tariff for that, so you'll get up to 70 cents per kilowatt. But in terms of the way the battery would drain, they will drain it fully, but it'll be just like you were to use it yourself. It's still going to drain it down to that 10-11%. So it's either they drain it or you drain it. Either way, it's going to get drained the same way. So it's not like it's going through multiple cycles for that evening or something like that. That's going to add extra cycles to the battery life. It's going to be very similar.
And then, so, we talked about the export of 1.5 kilowatts. Is that also the same speed that it would get exported out at, or does Synergy have an ability to export that at a higher kilowatt range just because it's that VPP moment, that event?
It would be at the... That's a good question, actually. I have to double check.
Okay, well, there you go. We'll come back. I'll put it in the comments if you can.
I believe it would be 1.5.
Right.
But I would have to,
because that's not very quick, right? It's like filling a pool with a hose rather than a massive pipe. So even if you have 30 kilowatt hours of battery and they're exporting for an event of 6 hours at 1.5, it's not going to drain the whole thing that quickly in 6 hours.
Yeah, because especially like a 25 kilowatt, it's going to take. If you're doing it at 1.5, it's going to be very slow. I'll double check that one. I can maybe put that in the comment section.
There you go, I've stumped you, finally. And so you've got the VP, and they're also paying you credits for using that power at the same time. So even though your battery's getting drained, you're still pulling from the grid, but that's free? Is that you get a credit back on that part when you use the power? Sorry,
say again?
So when you're, let's say there's an event, your battery is getting drained, but at the same time, it's the evening and you need to draw some power. Whatever you draw from the grid, would that be credited back to you?
No, so you would still need to pay for that.
Right, but then you get paid 70 cents per discharge point of from your battery.
Yep.
Or 70 odd cents, whatever might be the
roughly
price.
They say up to 70 cents. So we'll see when it is rolled out whether that's depending on your Synergy plan or something like that. It may depend on what rate you get.
Interesting.
But at the moment they're saying up to 70, so we'll see how that plays out.
Right, so it might not even be 70 cents.
Yeah.
And then lastly on this topic, because the VPP, is that locked in for the full 10 years? Because I read it was somewhere around 2 years that you're locked in for that to get the rebate, but then you can opt out or you just stops? What's the...
They haven't said anything in terms of like if you can opt out or something like that. As far as I'm concerned, and from what we've spoken to with Synergy, is that if you agree to be on the VPP, you're going to be on the VPP. The 2-year period is for the current rates, so the up to 70 cents and the up to 30 times per year that they'll drain the battery. So that's what it would be for the first 2 years. After that 2 years, you would still be on the VPP, but the rates may change. So the amount of times per year that they drain the battery may increase, decrease. The rate that they give you per kilowatt may increase or decrease. So, but you would still be on the VPP.
So you're locked in for the VPP for the lifetime of the system?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's probably an answer that I haven't been able to find online, to be honest. So that's people will have to weigh that up if they're going to take that up and be part of this VPP. And then every 2 years or 2 years after that, things might change, which I know people don't like the fact that somehow people walk back what they've promised, especially with that $5,000 rebate.
Yeah.
Did that affect you guys a lot? Did you get a lot of people say no after that? Or did people just sort of go with it?
50-50, because when the rebate was, say up to $5,000 for a 10 kilowatt battery, which is now reduced to up to $1,300, it's a big difference. So it's 50-50, because at the end of the day, the battery's still 50% off with both these rebates. Whereas before, if they did keep it, it would have, for some people, would have been about 80% off, which is a massive discount. But a lot of people still see, look, it's 50% off. It's still a really good payback. You can still put it on the interest-free loan that the state government is offering to still make it affordable, which is it's no fees involved. So no interest, no upfront, ongoing or early repayment fees. So a lot of people, they'll put it on the 10-year, so the 120-month interest-free loans, make the payments as small as possible, and then they can just go into the portal and just pay it off when they like. So
yeah, that was my worry, is that it says interest-free, but then there'll be account keeping fees, but turns out there isn't. And if you do actually go through the submission process, it does show you there are fees, but once you go a few pages in, it actually goes to zero. So keep that in mind. If you see it, it actually does go to zero. So then to, I guess, a question that a lot of people will be asking as they start to look into these systems, there's two things, right? There's the rebates. They're going to run out at some point. What's the reality here? Like, when will people be worse off than today if they go something in a couple of months or years?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're looking, because things have really just started July 1st, yes, a lot of rebates have gone out the door, but the state government rebate, there is 100,000 of them, so there is quite a few, but I wouldn't leave it longer than a year, because July 1st, the federal government rebate will reduce. It does last 5 years, but it will reduce, July 1st each year for those 5 years. So, and the state government rebate, even though there is 100,000, we did speak with Plenty. They don't have a web page at the moment where you can see the number.
That would be good.
Reducing, because that would be very handy and people would be able to see. So hopefully we might be able to convince them to put something up like that. We'll see. But when we spoke to them last, there was roughly 15,000, and that was 1 or 2 weeks ago.
Used up.
15,000 rebates used up. So we're about roughly 15% of the way through.
Wow, I thought it might have been a bit more. 15% doesn't seem like much, but do you expect the next 12 months to be super busy, or it's just ramping up? What do you see happening in the next 12 months, just overall?
I think it'll still be very busy, because this 12-month period of July 1st to July 1st is when they're going to be at their cheapest for the next 5 years. So it's still going to be very busy. A lot of people, the busiest period was just before July 1st, as these rebates were getting announced. So we had a lot of people sign up, added to the wait list, ready to go. So we think it's still going to be, it's a lot more steady now that there's less news and less press about it.
Sure.
So there's not as many big jumps in leads coming through, but it'll be more consistent for the next 12 months, but still very, very busy. So
okay, and what are some of the questions that the audience or people looking for these systems should be asking the chosen company they have? What is some of the gotchas then, or things they should know before they jump in and should ask those installers?
They should ask, I mean, as I mentioned before, you want to make sure they're a CEC accredited retailer. That's a big one. There's a difference between being a CEC member and a retailer. Because a retailer, anyone can get a membership, but to be a certified retailer, yes, you need to apply and be properly accredited for that. So, you want to make sure the company's been around for a long time, because as we mentioned before, there's a lot of companies, and a large percentage of the solar industry are companies that pop up for a year or two, shut down the company, and then re-phoenix the company under a different name and do the same thing. So you want to make sure they've been around for a while, go with a bigger national company that's around Australia or even local. And that's a couple of things you want to make sure. And then of course do your own due diligence. Look at the reviews, do a bit of research on the products. Make sure what your salesman and your retailer's telling you is. Of course, you can't know everything, but want to make sure everything checks out, and you at least do a bit of your own research, making sure you get something that will fit your needs.
Is there anything else that you want to share with everyone that's relevant and important to know when you go into installing a system like this in your home?
Off the top of my head, I think we've covered most of it.
Installation locations that you'd suggest, or even, what kind of, your home, where's the best place to put it? Will your installer help you with that, or should you be deciding? What's the...
Yeah, things like where it should be. Probably like 95% of the time, your system will go in the garage, just because it's well protected, it's ventilated, so that's normally the best place for it. If you are to put it on the side wall of your home, if it's just under an eave, that's not quite enough protection for it. The systems are waterproof. Like you could put a high pressure water hose to it. Okay. It's not gonna. Don't do that. But it's not gonna do anything. But it's still best to. So like rain and that kind of thing, it wouldn't affect it. But given the clean energy regulations, the installers must install with some kind of cover or shed, which depending on your installer, that may be something you have to organise, or if it's just a smaller cover kind of thing, then that might be something that the installer can install for you.
And actually, just speaking of installs, and you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes your actual meter box might need an upgrade if it doesn't fit everything. Yep. So there's an extra little cost that might happen during the installation, but we'll be doing a full install video very soon once I put that together. Dean, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks.
I really appreciate your time. I know you're busy now with all these people asking you probably a lot of questions every time they do.
Yep.
But thank you very much again. Where can we find you and Sunterra?
Find us will be sunterra.com.au. You can find us there. I believe Pat will leave a link below. There'll be a form there if you want to speak to myself at Sunterra. Just want to get more info about the system, see if solar's for you, see the type of system that would suit your home, what size you need, what battery size you need, that kind of thing. Get in contact. I'll have a chat with you and see what we can do for you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you all. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.